The following is a Live the Dream Media production.
Good morning and happy Wednesday, everybody in Southern Arizona. We are here on the local Marana live podcast. I'm so pumped to be here and host today. And we have an awesome guest with us today. He's the owner and president of BKW Farms here in Marana, Arizona. It's a staple in the town. And we've met each other before. We've sat in this room before and had some conversations, and it's really great. It's good having you here, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. You know, last time we were talking paintball.
Yes.
And it's like you guys have like built this amazing complex here. It's just it's got like turf, and tell us about it, because I missed the agriculture 2-day where I would have gotten to see it during the Impact Marana. I was supposed to be there, but I had a sick child and I missed out. I was like, no. So I'm going to try to sneak in Impact Class 3. Amanda, I don't know this yet. Sorry, Amanda. I'm going to try to sneak in and come hang out with you guys.
Yeah. I mean, paintball, we've been there for about 15 years. We're always expanding, growing it. Our main thing is a good quality paintball field, not like the dirty, grimy one that everyone always used to go to. So that, that's what our main focus is. We're open 9 months out of the year. We close June, July, and August because it is hot outside in the summer months here in, Tucson, Marana area.
Do you know how much paintball time people get in like the Midwest or? It's got to be shorter, right?
Some fields, they'll be open year round. I mean, all the fields here in Arizona, I think we're the only one that closed for the summer.
Oh, really?
But I know kind of fields like more northern, they will close, kind of opposite of us during the winter when, the snow gets pretty bad and they just can't play outside.
There's fields that stay open in the 110?
Oh, yeah.
My goodness. Because most people will wear gear.
Yeah,
like protective gear.
I mean, that's kind of what you have to do, or get shot on bare skin, and it just hurts a lot more.
Yeah. What's the spot? So you take part in this? Like you're not just a spectator and builder of it. You get involved, right?
I don't get to play paintball as much as I used to. Maybe a couple times a year, but I'm out there almost every weekend. Chatting with people, talking to people, and then during the week we're cleaning up and doing a lot of maintenance and making sure it's ready for the next weekend.
Yeah. What's your least favorite spot to get hit in when you're playing? It's like the rib cage.
That's what everyone always asks. What spot hurts the most, and I tell them it's the spot you get hit in twice.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
But I'd say for me, probably in between the knuckles.
Right
in the fingers.
Right where you're holding the. Oh yeah, I've had that happen before. So I had, of course, never doing it. When I did it the first time, my expectations on the pain was completely off.
Oh really?
I was thinking way less.
Oh yeah.
No, I got lit up and I was like, man, at first I wasn't like a fan, and then once the adrenaline started kicking, I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this. Yeah. But then you go home and you have bruises.
Wells, yeah. I mean, I do have a couple permanent scars that'll probably never go away, but those are from getting shot, up close. I usually don't wear a lot of protective gear, just t-shirt and jeans.
Oh, okay.
But that is one thing that most people are concerned, especially if they've never played paintball, is the ouch or the hurt factor. And then we do offer other kinds of paintball experiences. We have low impact paintball, so basically the paintballs are a little bit smaller and they don't fly as fast, so they don't hurt as much. And then we also have something called gel blasters, which is more for the younger crowd. And those are like the little water beads that people shoot at each other. And so, that doesn't leave any kind of mess or stains, and just feels like you're getting, kind of like in a dust storm, just, dirt or sand is hitting you.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to try that out.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how's everything been? How's life, Brian?
Good. We're still out there farming. Farming hasn't disappeared yet. And I'm raising my 2 kids. And making a lot of school choices now. They're getting to be that age.
Yeah.
A
lot of farms are kind of moving out, right? I mean, you see a lot of land going for sale.
Yeah.
Out in the area, and
that's probably one of the biggest factors, especially in family farms. Is I guess really kind of any business is generational change. The parents or the grandparents start the business, then the next generation, they're kind of forced to take part of it. But when it comes to the third generation, almost no one has any kind of interest in it. And that's where a lot of businesses can't get past, is that second to third generation transition.
Yeah, and you guys are in the third trend.
Yeah,
third
So
legacy,
I'm the
right?
third. I'm the third generation out there, and we not to say that we have answers to all the problems, but we definitely are struggling with that. I'm the only one in my generation that's working out there out of 40 some odd cousins.
Wow.
So where it goes past me, more than likely, there'll be family involved, but there just might be some outside people that become involved and owners in the company.
Yeah.
We haven't figured that part out yet.
Right. Why do you think that is? I mean, and
Yeah.
I've heard it in other industries too. Pardon me. I've heard it in other industries too. Why do you think that is? You think it's just they know what the work entails and it doesn't sound interesting, or is it there's plenty of other opportunity? What do you think it is? What would you say in your opinion?
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying this is the right facts or anything, but what would your opinion be on the factor of that?
Anyone that starts or creates their own business, they have the passion for it. They have the the drive and the energy, and they put it all in there to build it up. And if it's successful, they keep doing it year over year. They have their own kids, and the kids see them putting all the energy and effort into it. And like I said, I don't know if the parent or the person that starts it gives the option for that parent or whatnot to not take part of it or be part of it. But then when you get from that second to third, I was kind of forced into this and I don't want to put my children through that, or, I just don't have the energy or passion into it, so I'm not going to have my children be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also definitely the family dynamic in any business. Working with family members isn't the easiest thing to do either.
No.
Yeah.
Working, living,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole experience.
Yeah.
Now it's all molded into one.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it's something you see in. Let's be real. I mean, how many hours you work in a day? I mean, that's something that's really something to consider, right?
Yeah.
You're not doing a 40-hour day or 40-hour work week. Sorry, if you're doing a 40-hour day,
yeah.
that's impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, 40-hour work week. I mean, I feel like that just doesn't exist.
I mean, yeah, when you're kind of, the head part of the company, some weeks are good, some weeks are bad, and you just have to be there. And there really isn't any kind of off time, especially when it comes to agriculture.
Mhm.
It's not like you can take a day off and the plants take a day off too. They grow they grow every day.
Yeah, the plants, the weather,
Yeah.
just because the weather affects what you do.
Correct. Yeah. I'd say the biggest part that we've kind of seen is temperature variations compared to what we've seen decades ago. It's more, I guess, volatile and unpredictable. Some plants, especially the stuff that we grow in the colder season, needs that cold weather to kind of develop and mature. And if you don't get that kind of stuff, the plant becomes stunted or the yields won't be as great. During the summertime, here obviously summer is always hot, and so the plants that do grow during the summer actually thrive more when there's more heat to work with. So it's kind of like opposite effects of what's been happened in the past.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up climate because it's one of those conversations that people can get one-sided on.
Yes,
right, and refuse to acknowledge change and identify that there has been changes in it. And I had Stephanie Waldriff in here. She used to work at KOLD. She was a weather or meteorologist for them. And we were talking about, because we had just come off a really serious storm season, monsoon. And last year was pretty crazy too. We had the one that big one that hit and was ripping roofs off and all that stuff. And, we were talking about like, growing up, like, I don't remember the intensity at that level. Like, there's definitely something off.
Yeah.
Like, even I'm in a pretty, I would say, sturdy home, but I had to do significant roof repairs.
Oh, really?
After the storm. Not only that, I mean, there was a lot of folks that were, we got the tornado warning on our phones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I live here for a reason, so I don't have to do this. But we're sitting in the downstairs bathroom, me and the kids and the wife, with some pillows and some water. We're like, do we really, like, you're kind of skeptical, like, do we really need to be doing this right now? But that's what it was out there. We're like, this is, there's been tornado warnings before. I've seen that, and, there was one on Ina back in like the 90s or early 2000s and different things. But it was like a string of stuff. But, you getting back to what you were saying, you're seeing these volatile temperature changes, and when are you seeing is it just throughout the year, or is there like a particular season you guys are seeing it happen where you're like, whoa, This is kind of something we should mark on the calendar, like something to watch.
I don't know if there's really a whole lot more we're changing about, with climate. It's just like I said, it's unpredictable. Not in the sense that we don't know what's going on, but from what I understand is with climate changing, storms are going to be have more energy, more I guess destructive power when they do happen, but they're not going to be the frequency of the storms aren't going to be here as much as they used to.
Yeah.
Like you said, growing up, I remember during monsoon, almost every evening it's going to rain. But now this monsoon, usually it doesn't rain for a couple days, and it rains for a few days straight. That kind of stuff. So
yeah, and the climate change thing, people always try to place a blame on it, right?
Mhm.
Like, which is just interesting to me. But like, you hear, I was in a history thing with Impact Marana the last class, and they were talking about how the climate change, there's cycles, like it's just something, and it's like placing blame on things.
Yeah.
With it, it's just an interesting concept that I hear people share. I'm like, oh, okay. But when you talk to farmers, right, they're acknowledging that there's something that like you said, you're not changing anything, but you're just seeing something like, oh, hey, that's a different temperature change.
Yeah.
Like and it could be a cycle, it could be 1 year. Like, I don't know. I think it's just something that it's way outside of what we know.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like,
From what I understand, in other parts of the country, with their climate changing, they're looking to actually change different crops that they've been growing traditionally to other crops that would be more adaptive to what they're seeing year over year.
right.
In our area, I don't think I've seen a whole lot of changes in cropping patterns, but I do know that like California, northeast area of the U.S., they are changing their cropping patterns.
Interesting. So here you are, third generation running this.
Yeah.
But you guys have added stuff, that wasn't there before, right? Or was it? I mean, I could be mistaken, but the mushroom stuff. So I kind of wanted to talk about the BKW Mushroom Co.
Sure.
That's pretty new.
Yes.
And how do you get into the mushrooms, and why?
Yeah. So we started growing, I guess, heritage varieties of wheat back in 2013. And the mushrooms kind of evolved out of there when we started growing fresh mushrooms in 2017, because we actually used the wheat byproducts to grow the mushrooms in. So after we harvested our wheat, we would actually save all the stalk and then grow our mushrooms in the stalk, all mulched up and prepped as the growing media for the mushrooms. So we thought that was a very good, that you're able to use, products off of a different crop and reuse it to grow a new crop. And then we're actually using the raw wheat berries to inoculate with the mushroom spores, and then grow it from there. Since then we've been growing the fresh mushrooms since 2017, and then we actually wanted to try to get into mushroom supplement powders, and that's where the whole BKW Mushroom Co. came from, was kind of taking on the supplement powder side. And we just started that last year, but we've been wanting to do the supplement powders for maybe about a year or two. But we like to do a lot of trial and error in everything we do instead of doing our own kind of research, seeing what other people do. We like to just kind of make it up as we go along. So, it takes maybe a little bit longer than it should be to kind of develop our process, but we just want to make sure that we got it down, we can have it consistent, because that's what we kind of found with growing our wheat, is that the people that purchase it from us, they can rely on the consistency, so they're not having to change anything, especially like bakeries or restaurants in their recipes.
Yeah. You guys work with a lot of bakeries and restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Can you name some of them here? They're local, like it's coming from your farm and going out to local restaurants and stuff. Here, you got a few you can name?
Yeah, so Barrio Breads is probably the biggest one, the baker that we work with. And, Don's been a big supporter for us. And since we started growing the heritage varieties of wheat, he's actually the one that's kind of pushing us to do it, so he could source something local instead of having to buy it from a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the restaurants here in the Marana area, Dominic's, just right up the road here, Blacktop Grill, they're next door neighbors to them. Zio Pepe, kind of near Tinker Verde area, they buy wheat and mushrooms from us, and they put it all in all their dishes.
Do you have a favorite mushroom dish? You have to say the restaurant name, but
No.
what particular mushroom, a dish with the mushrooms that you like the most?
I definitely like making my own beef stroganoff at home and using our own mushrooms in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just grab some. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Shay, can you pull up the wellness I sent you a graphic. It's called the Wellness Blend. There, yeah, perfect. All right, Brian. So you see this on the screen
Yes.
here. Wellness blend used traditionally for general well-being, immune support, and antioxidants. So I'm assuming this is what you're talking about that's getting changed into the supplement powders?
Correct.
Okay, so the supplement powders, how are they being ingested? Like, I mean, I know they're being consumed in a certain way, but like, or is it like via coffee? Is it via protein shakes or breakfast shakes or some other method? Because I read something about, I don't know, I might be incorrect, but I thought I read something about alcohol or something.
Yeah. not that I know about the alcohol part, but any way you want to get into your body. I mean, most people put it into like coffees or teas or smoothies. I mean, you could put it into straight water and drink it that way. It might have a bit of an earthy taste to it, but any way that you can kind of get into your body, people just add it to drinks mainly. I guess you could put it into some foods if you really wanted to, just so you can ingest it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So alcohol, you could put in alcohol if you really want to.
I thought I read something. It was like, in case, or if you use an alcohol, it's okay, or so. I don't know. I could be wrong, but not that I'm gonna put it with alcohol. But no, I had somebody ask if I had tried mushroom coffee before.
Okay.
So I guess somebody was drinking it at my wife's work, and I was like, I don't know. I don't think I have.
Yeah. So basically, that's what it is. It's just regular coffee and then adding the mushroom supplements to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could pull the graphic back up, Shay, and you could put it like in the corner somewhere so we can keep it up while we can change cameras and keep chatting. Forgive me if I pronounce these wrong.
No, it's okay.
I'm not versed in this at all. I was like, oh man, I hope I can get them kind of right. It's the reishi.
Yes.
The reishi. So what are its benefits and why is it considered part of the wellness blend?
Yeah. So reishi is mainly used for, I guess, helping you sleep better at night. That's the most simple of terms. It kind of calms the body down. People that have taken it, have definitely told us that they can sleep better, they can sleep longer. They're not as restless at night as they used to, and they feel more rested when they wake up. And some people said the minute they took it, they could feel different right away. Some people said that it took, a few days for it to kick in, but everyone has said they've seen some kind of improvement when they've taken the reishi powder.
Wow. And then this is the most interesting looking one here, I would say. Chaga?
Chaga, yeah.
Chaga. Okay. The chaga.
Yeah.
What is the benefits and wellness blend for that?
So that one's supposed to help with, I guess, immunosupport, digestive support. It's trying to kind of boost your immune system. And that's if you're having some kind of digestive issues, that's the one that you want to kind of take in. We have the total wellness blend, which is a little bit of it all kind of combined, but we do sell each of these individually too if you're trying to just target, some kind of thing that you're trying to help your body overcome or support.
And can people get that online? Can they do like an online order? Where do they go for that?
BKWmushroomco.com. I think everything's on there online, and it's just shipped directly to your house.
Okay, awesome. Turkey tail.
Turkey tail.
That's a cool looking one. Turkey. It looks like a turkey if you kind of if you guys can see it. Yeah, it looks like a turkey. What is that? So what's the benefits of this one?
I'm not exactly too sure on that one. That's just part of our total wellness blend.
Okay.
The guy that's kind of heading all this, he kind of has his secrets kept close to him. And,
sorry, man. Get a call later. Yeah. Hey, take that down.
I just know the main kinds of mushrooms that are the most common ones that are in the wellness blend. But basically the turkey tail and the shiitake and maitake are the ones I don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah. Well, I've had plenty of the shiitake.
Yeah.
I've eaten that in a lot of different things, soups and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The maitake.
Yeah.
That is a cool looking one. And seeing if you guys get a chance, go on the Facebook and check out the video. There's some videos and stuff on social media of you guys growing this stuff, and it's so interesting. It's like a whole different world.
Yeah.
It looks alien almost.
Yeah. And the mushrooms don't look anything like you see kind of in the store or even people foraging for mushrooms, because you think of just like a round cap and a stem coming out of it. But some of these mushrooms can get pretty crazy.
I always got fascinated when I'd watch shows like Alone. You ever seen that show?
No, I haven't.
So they're like out in the wilderness. They're like I think it's like a group of 9 of them. They're split up, and they have to, whoever wins is the person that survives out in the wilderness the longest. And they're usually like in a remote area in like Alaska or in Canada. And these folks will just be like walking through the trees and they're like, oh, it's this blah 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 mushroom, and you go and they go and grab it and they harvest it, and it's an odd looking thing. Like if I was out in the I wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
It's like an orange color. And you're like, what's going on? But it doesn't look like the mushrooms we get at the store.
Yeah,
like our standard mushrooms.
Yeah,
and I don't even know how much value those ones at the store bring. I don't know, but they taste really good.
Yeah,
if you season them with some garlic and and do stuff to it. But
well, I think if you season anything with garlic, it'll taste good.
Amen. Amen. Enough garlic and butter.
Yeah.
Just season it all up. Yeah, no. So, yeah, if you guys get a chance, go check out the BKW Farms and the Mushroom Co. and check out the social media. There's a lot of cool videos. Plus, I saw Discover Marana did a pretty good write-up on what's going on over there.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about that?
Yeah, she came out to basically, look at our heritage wheat and look at our mushrooms, and I think she did a really good job on kind of bringing it all together. She spent, I think, like 2 days with us, going over everything, getting all the pictures. She even developed her own recipe. I think it's a pizza that she put the mushrooms on, and I think it looked really good.
Oh,
yeah,
pizza. Okay, I have to try. Okay, yeah. So anybody can buy these. Anybody can just go and buy some of these mushrooms and
we like I said, the fresh mushrooms we only do local delivery. We don't ship those just because we can't control the quality. They need to stay cold, so we do all of our own local deliveries here in Tucson and Phoenix area. But the mushroom supplements, we just pop those in the mail and they'll get delivered right to your home.
So cool. That's so cool. All right, next thing I want to talk about with you, I kind of prepped you for the beginning of the show, was water is a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
Water conservation is a hot topic here in this region. And, sometimes there's the fear-mongering approach to it. And then, there's the folks that are like, well, we're more here. We do have aquifers. We have water. We're okay. There's this 100-year guarantee, whatever comes out of somebody. The problem with it is that I see is there's no consistency in when the question's asked.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that the response I'm going to get from you is what the listeners and viewers should, still go do your own research and everything. But, I felt like talking to a farmer that's been doing this for a while. This is a good question to ask because you're in the trenches, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Trenches with the water and everything else. Is water an issue? Does it matter when it comes to conserving either way, right? Like, because I could tell you I would still just do it either way if I could. But is it an issue? How are you combating it if it is? What plans do you have in place? And where are we headed?
Yeah. So water definitely is, I don't know if issue is the right word, but is something that everyone should be aware of.
Paying attention to.
Yeah. Definitely be educated into it is important, almost like with any controversial topic. But when it comes to water and agriculture, specifically for our operation, it is a big deal. All of our ag land is, 100% irrigated. But we do have different things that we've been doing over the years to help, basically on water conservation and making sure we have water reliability into the future. So Arizona passed the 1980 Groundwater Act, and basically at that point kind of set limits on how much water can be applied to ag land in urban areas, which, Tucson, we are considered an urban area. So you couldn't just, water as much as you wanted to. There are limits. And there are efficiencies put into place year after year on how much water you can use, so it is steadily going down.
Wow!
But we've never hit our limit on how much water we could put on our farmland, as far as I know, working here. So water conservation is a big thing. Specifically for our farm, we are 100% irrigated off the Central Arizona Project, which is a canal that brings water down from the Colorado River through the Phoenix and Tucson area. And we started doing that in the mid-'90s. And actually, by the late 90s, we stopped pumping groundwater and again converted 100% to CAP, and we haven't pumped any groundwater since then.
Yeah.
In combination with that kind of infrastructure, And some of the cities are doing water recharge, basically taking their water allocation and putting it back into the ground so it adds to the water aquifer. The water table's come up underneath our farm about 100 feet since the late 90s.
Wow.
Just because of all these programs that we've been doing in our area. So like I said, it is only specific to our farm, but it is something that a lot of the farms, that if they do have access to the Central Arizona Project Canal, they are taking as much water as they can off of it just to, preserve our natural groundwater underneath, our feet.
Right. Oh, okay.
A lot of people always ask us, what are your water irrigation techniques? We still do a lot of furrow irrigation. Basically, you see the hoses coming out of a ditch and the water, goes down the field.
What are those hoses called?
Just siphon tubes.
Siphon tubes?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And people always ask us, why don't you do sprinkler or drip or, some of those more, hot topic water efficiency programs. One of the things that our farm, we have about 90% of it is state lease land. And it is just hard to invest in that kind of infrastructure on land that we just lease from the state when they can tell us, someone wants to buy it for development. So sorry, not sorry. So that's what we've just been aiming for, is just, trying to make it as efficient as possible with our furrow irrigation. We laser level our land almost year or every other year just to make sure that our water efficiencies are up there. And I think the last that we kind of took a look at it, we're about like 85 to 90% efficiency on irrigation. So we feel that that's a pretty good number.
Wow. Do you know if there's like any grants or anything that farms and stuff can get when you like, let's say, let me reword this question. Are there in any existence grants and stuff that farms can get when there is a certain level of efficiency reached? Like,
yeah,
is there a bigger benefit to it other than, I understand the climate and the conservation of water and stuff. Mm-hmm. We're talking about that, which is great. But is there something else that would benefit the farm in general, having a higher efficiency of the water usage?
There definitely are grant programs out there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's kind of volatile again is funding. Yes, you can have all these grant programs, but is it funded well enough? Is there enough funding for people that apply to it? And they are pretty competitive when it comes to grants. Almost every grant program is competitive. Yes, you could get the efficiency up there, but we just feel like if we go from 90% to 95% efficiency, does it pay for the amount of infrastructure that it takes to put in there? And just right now, it doesn't pencil out for us.
Right. Thanks for covering that.
Yeah.
These are things people need to understand, right? And hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people will always be like, well, why don't you get a sprinkler? Just do it. It's like, are you gonna pay for it?
Yeah.
Are you gonna fix the tires and the wheels every time the bearings go out and all that other stuff? The hoses that go into it. The heads, right? Like all that, man. Yeah. It's good to hear that information out there so people have an understanding.
Yeah. I mean, water, even though we do have, the water resources available, it isn't free water. I mean, there is infrastructure that takes place. There's maintenance costs, there's energy costs of pumping water. Water is hard to move. Yeah. So it does take some energy costs too.
Yeah. Do you by chance know how many gallons, or I don't know, is it acres? Is that how you guys measure?
Yeah, water is usually measured in acre feet.
Acre feet?
Yes.
How much is used a year, give or take?
On our farm?
On your farm, or just like an average for farms in the area?
And so specifically on our farm, we use about 10 to 11,000 acre feet a year over 4,500 acres. But as far as I know, I think in Arizona in total, the amount of water used for agriculture is, I think, is like around 75 to 80% of total water use is still for agriculture.
Wow. What's your main crop?
So we personally just focus on the heritage grains and the mushrooms, but we lease out a majority of our farmland to other farmers in the area. And they grow cotton, alfalfa. There's a lot of barley in the ground right now. Those are probably the three main crops that are grown in the Marana area.
Okay. I'd like to go to a quick break. And when we get back, I would like to talk about history of the farm, because I was reading some stuff on here, and I thought it was really cool. So I want to pick your brain a little bit on the history of the farm.
Yeah.
And then we can talk into whatever else we can in that last couple minutes of this hour. We're already halfway through.
Okay.
So, but hey, we're going to go a quick commercial break. So thank you to our sponsors, and we will be right back with Brian.
Hola, I'm Fatima Campos, owner of Incas. With just one taste, you will understand why Peruvian cuisine is one of the best in the world. The blending of spices, international flavors, ingredients imported from Peru, fresh dishes, unique, authentic, and delicious. Incas Peruvian Cuisine, southwest corner of Sunrise and Cove. Visit us at incasperuviancuisine.com. Adios margaritas. Hola pisco sour.
All right, we're back. Thank you to Incas Peruvian for sponsoring the show. And other shows. They sponsor a couple of shows. It's really cool. So history of the farm. So it says farming in Arizona since 1939. A lot has happened since then, and has, looking at the history of the farm, has crop choices changed over time, right? I know there's been a lot of, you had war and different things that happened. So has anything happened because, when we got into the war era and then post the war, World War? So can you give us any insight on any of that?
Sure. So my grandfather was the first one that started the farm. He actually started in 1935. That's when he purchased the land, but it took a little bit to develop land because he just purchased raw desert. So you have to plow it, get all the mesquite trees out of there, find some kind of water source. So the first farm was actually up in the Red Rock area, which is, I think like 10 miles north of Marana. So he put in his first crop in 1939. And back then, the crops grown in the area were grains, vegetables, that kind of stuff. Cotton was never grown in this area at that time. 1941 is when he put in his first cotton crop. And he didn't know what he was doing since it was never grown here. It was mainly grown in the California area. So generally, you plant cotton about March, April time, more towards April. He didn't get the cotton in the ground until June, and then generally you'll harvest the cotton about October. Will come December 7th, 1941. That's when Pearl Harbor happened, and he was one of the only farmers with cotton still left in the ground just because of a late planting. So he thought he's going to lose the farm after this, but it's just a series of luck that something like that happened. And so the price of cotton went from about 8 cents a pound to over $1 because it was declared a wartime commodity.
Yeah.
So he made a fortune on that crop. 8 cents to $1 is a lot of money back in the early 40s. So he basically used that money to reinvest back in the farm. And we mainly were a cotton and alfalfa farm for that entire time. He loved to buy land sight unseen as long as it was a good deal. So we were farming probably in I think like the 1970s was the height of our farm. We're farming in the Marana, Casa Grande, Wilcox, and even into California area. So I think we're about 20 to 25,000 acres, and that's a lot for a family to try to farm.
Yeah.
A lot of mismanagement, a lot of stuff going in late, not being able to do stuff on time. So we went through bankruptcy in the early 90s and reconsolidated all of our farming operation in the Marana area.
Wow. That part about the cotton being put in the ground late.
Yeah.
And it turning into something bigger.
Yeah.
I think that's the cool thing. Is that like the turning point story of the farm legacy? Or I mean, it's like you go from 8 cents to $1 almost, almost overnight. I'm just talking smack here, but almost overnight, not knowing, right? Just like, hey, I'm just going to try this and see how it goes. and then the war pops off and it's like, well, we need cotton. Yeah. Right. And you have it. So, wow.
Yeah. I mean, that does seem like some kind of, far out there. You could never predict it, but that kind of, I guess, success can happen almost any time. And it's a lot to do with, again, weather. If there's some kind of natural disaster that destroys a crop, in some part of the country and another part of the country has it, then obviously it's just, a supply and demand issue, and the prices raise after that. We grew lettuce back in like the 70s and 80s, 10 years in a row. So there were some years where the price was so bad it didn't even pay to harvest it out of the field, so we just plowed it back up.
Wow.
But on that very last year of lettuce, there was a snowstorm that kind of wiped out the lettuce crop in the California Yuma area. So, they came and picked every single head of lettuce that we had out in the field, and it paid for those 9 years of losses that we had. And that was the last time we grew lettuce from there. But, those kind of stories do happen, but, it's just random chance. You can't ever predict that kind of stuff.
What a fascinating industry.
Yeah.
My goodness. 9 years paid for.
Yeah.
one
crop.
One crop. Sustainable farming. It's on your website. You guys talk about it. What is that in layman's terms for folks, right?
Yeah.
What are we talking about with sustainable farming, sustainable agriculture?
So when you talk about sustainability in kind of the agriculture, I guess any kind of sense, there's kind of three things that you're trying to hit on. There's the economic aspect. It has to pencil out. It has to make money. It's not sustainable if you're losing money year after year. There's the environmental part, especially when it comes to agriculture, and you don't want to be, you don't want to be destroying the land just to kind of get that one or two crops out of there. You need to do something that's sustainable, that's that's reasonable, and something that actually benefits the land. So you're not just trying to fight it. You're not trying to do a bunch of artificial things to the land. You're basically trying to use what's there. And then there's the social aspect, which I think it's kind of overlooked in most kind of businesses. That has to do with mental health, which is a big issue, and trying to be part of the community, trying to be socially sustainable and socially responsible, and that's what we've been really trying to aim towards since we started doing like the heritage wheat and mushrooms. Is basically that big community connection, something that we kind of never did before. Trying to do more community events, connect with people, let them know that there's even farming in the area. When we talk to people and they said, "Oh, I didn't even know Arizona had farming," it's kind of hard to, start a conversation at that point because, they think that some people think that food just magically appears in the grocery store and it just comes from somewhere. They don't know where.
Yeah, they don't know all that goes into it,
Yeah.
right? The whole system.
Mhm.
It's just, I think the first taste of some panic was, and I always hate going back to this, but the COVID era, right? We saw some shelves empty. We saw some problems with supply chain and issues
Mhm.
like that, where people were like starting to hoard things
Yeah.
because they were afraid of supply. And that's really interesting. You bring up the social part of it, because I could see where people, maybe they do know there's a farm in the area, but what are they farming?
Mm-hmm.
Do we trust them? Are they doing the right thing? Are they using pesticides that cause cancer? Do they do all those conversations that can start to cause relationship issues, can cause, walls to be set between farms and the community. And you guys are working to ensure that there isn't a barrier and that there's clear openness. Like, hey, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we do it.
Yeah.
If you want some, this is how you get it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I think that's really cool to see. And it's interesting because I've seen your guys' like uptick in social and doing things, and I thought it was so cool because I'm a huge Dominic's Real Italian fan.
Okay.
Love the place. Love Blacktop Grill.
Uh-huh.
And then when I saw that you guys were doing stuff with them, I'm like, this is so cool, because we had, I have some family up in Gilbert, and there's a really good concept out there in Gilbert where they do a lot of local, from the farm to restaurants
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, with some restaurants out there. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. I think it's cool to set like a tone for that going into the future, whatever the future of farming is,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to lead into my next question with you is what is the future of farming? What do you think the future of farming is? Either for you guys, but the region in general.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen? What's the trend?
So I think that the future of farming, farms are disappearing left and right, not just in our area, but it's a U.S. problem. It's a nationwide problem. I think the future on trying to supply our own agricultural products is going to be more small scale, kind of like what we're doing with the mushrooms. We grow them inside an enclosed building, so controlled environmental ag, which you could essentially put anywhere. So if there's some vacant warehouse like in downtown Tucson, we could easily grow mushrooms into there. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that local connection for agriculture, trying to hit these niche markets or these smaller markets so that you're providing something locally grown. Cutting down on the whole food miles thing and just not needing to go somewhere to get processed and then, comes back in. Kind of like what, cotton, gets shipped out of the country, it gets processed at textile factories, India, China, and then it comes back in and we're just basically buying our own product back. So I think local agriculture is going to be the big movement on trying to, educate people on where their food comes from and where they know that they're getting it from.
You just provided a lot of education today,
Yes.
bro. That part where you're talking about the cotton leaving the country that's grown here, getting shipped to other countries, to the textile factories for them to process it and make it whatever it needs to be, and then us buying it back. Business-wise, that confuses me.
Yeah.
It's like what? I'm not even getting into it because it's a whole bunch of other stuff. But oh my goodness.
But agriculture, since the '90s has really shifted. It's a worldwide market. Well, trading amongst other countries is
which is a good
big thing.
Yeah, which is a good thing in its way.
Yeah, but it all depends on how the country wants to be secure in their own their own future. What do they put an importance on, and how can people support it?
Aside from the legacy stuff with the family and or continuing the farm organizations, what's the biggest challenge for farmers?
I'd definitely say input costs, whether it's water or any kind of tractors. Tractors are definitely expensive.
What's one tractor cost that you would need for completing a day's work?
So let's take, for example, cotton. A brand new cotton picker is easily over $1 million, and you only use it for picking cotton. That 1 month out of the year. So
what? It just sits and you got to maintain it.
Input costs are definitely the biggest factor in farming. It's kind of sad that farming commodity prices really haven't gone with the economy. Some years we're still selling cotton and wheat at the same levels that we were back in the 50s and 60s, the same price point. So, the thing that you really have to focus on is lowering your input costs or increasing your yields so that, you can stay up with the economy and inflation.
What did a tractor in the 60s cost?
Probably maybe $100,000.
So do you feel like that's a big reason for a lot of farms disappearing?
It could be.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think one of the biggest issues is that generational change. I think the average age of a farmer is probably in their late 50s, early 60s. So, that definitely tells you that it's the old time farmers that are still in there, and the next generation just isn't going in there. And that is one of the biggest prohibitive things for new farmers to come in and trying to do, the more, traditional sense of farming on hundreds, thousands of acres. It's the capital cost to try to get into it.
How do we fix that? The market's got to change, right?
It does, yeah. Profitability, that's probably one of the biggest drivers on someone getting into farming, that they don't have to work a second or third job to supplement the income to make the farm work. Like I said, the smaller scale is probably where a lot of it's going to go to, trying to farm on 1 or 2 acres and just trying to provide it locally instead of trying to, compete on the worldwide market through commodity traders or third-party sellers.
Learned a lot today. Learned a lot.
Yeah.
You've done a heck of a job explaining a lot of this stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is it's always great to ask these questions because we don't see that. We're not paying attention. We're all distracted by so many other things going on. Right? But you acknowledge, I know people that live in this side of town, they acknowledge the disappearance of the farmlands because they see houses on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or you see a sign that says this has been rezoned to commercial.
Yeah.
Come and get it.
Yeah.
Right? Granted, we do need stuff to be built, right? We need, everybody wants the downtown Marana stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants that to happen. There's growth that comes with it, but having a firm understanding as to why the farms are disappearing is a good start.
Mm-hmm.
to conversations.
Yeah.
Like, hey, because a lot of people enjoy good vegetables. They enjoy good products from farms. Well, if we love it so much, but why aren't we supporting it more? And I mean, if we're going to support it more, I mean, like talking about the market, talking about the cost of the tractors.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like we need to get more tractor builders in the market. They can, cause some price changes because that's insane. $1 million for something that you use a month.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I guess that it really comes down to, people understanding where agriculture is and how they can access, I guess these products locally. And it all comes down to the farmer also needs to kind of get out there and say, we have XYZ, it's available locally. We know we're here to support our local agriculture, but it has to be something that people actually want. Yeah, we grow cotton here, but no one's going to come and buy, a few pounds of raw cotton because they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And that's something that we really learned when we started growing the heritage grains. We, have all these past decades of farming. We know how to farm. We know how to produce a crop. So we grew the grains that very first year. It was all sitting here at the farm in its raw berry form. And we asked, okay, where's everyone? Why aren't they lining up to get it? And, we realized they don't know how to use that raw grain berry. They know what
Guilty.
They know what flour is. They buy it at the store, and we needed to add in that extra process of milling the grain into flour, which we did add a few years later. But once we did that, that's when the business really started picking up because people know how to use flour, but they don't know how to use the raw product right off the land.
Right.
So I'm not blaming people. It's just,
No.
it was a learning experience for us too because in the past we always sold it on a contract and the buyer comes and picks it up and they drop off a check and we never see the product again and they go and process it somewhere else.
Right. So if I was to take what you've told me today, and this is me just putting stuff together, hypothetically, crazy David idea,
Yeah.
me just thinking. So you're talking about these smaller, let's call them modular farms, right? Smaller farms, and they all have a different thing, but they're all in like a smaller area, smaller community, but they work together. And then there's like the head corporation of it that can deal with the bigger stuff, bigger buys by utilizing the modulars, assigning the different crops and stuff and needs and everything. Do you think that that's kind of where it's going to go, where you'll have a corporation ahead and then modular farms, or do you think it's just going to be like not as community as I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Not command structure.
Yeah. Well,
I'm talking like a command structure.
Yeah.
Again, I'm talking hypothetical. I'm probably in the weeds right now.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the future of farming, I'm just thinking about it as far as logistics and that kind of that mode where, like, I know that sounds awesome, which I think that's where it's going. But like, what happens in the next step? Like you're talking right, like you just talked about a process that, like, how would those processes still get handled in that? Like, is there going to be an overseer of all those? Who's the overseer going to be? It's going to be BlackRock. I'm just kidding.
So what you kind of described as a CSA, community supported agriculture, where a CSA is a group of different farmers. They have all their different products and they kind of pool together, and then that that individual goes to the CSA, whether they have their own little market or a central hub, and they buy directly from them. Again, that kind of stuff takes effort. There has to be someone that wants to grow it. It takes the land to grow it and to be part of that CSA. I'm not as familiar with them in our area as I probably should be, since we've just been focusing on trying to do all of our own stuff. But that is the exact same thing you're trying to describe right there.
CSA.
Yeah.
So you don't know of any in this area?
I know they do exist, but I couldn't give you any examples or who participates in them.
It'd be interesting to see how many there are just in the country who are doing that. Yeah. Because I had watched that film Super Size Me.
Okay, yeah, I saw that back in the day.
And then I think he did another. I don't know, the one where he opened the like a chicken sandwich shop.
Oh, okay.
There's another one that he was involved with. There's somebody, but they talked about all the different farming and different ranching and all that stuff. And I was like thinking about what you were saying. I'm like, oh, but it exists already.
Yeah.
So it's already kind of happening. But yeah. But hey, man, we're done.
Oh,
We're just about an hour.
okay.
I always like to open the floor on this long form to you, and you can ask questions or you can roast if you want, or talk about something you guys have coming up that maybe you want to promote a little bit here. Remind folks where to go to buy things.
Yeah.
Say hello to your family.
So I guess I want to just kind of end with, people always ask us, a common question is how is Marana supporting us? Obviously you see development happening everywhere in Marana, and it is sad, definitely sad to see farmland disappear. But like I said, if the farmer's left with no one taking over the farm or selling the land, obviously they're gonna sell the land and go retire somewhere else. But
hit the beach.
Yeah, yeah. I think Marana is trying to support its agriculture as best as it can. Marana was an agriculture town before it started growing like crazy in these last few decades, and it all comes down to the town and its residents or locals supporting agriculture to make sure that it thrives into the future. Where to buy our products, either at bkwazgrown.com or bkwmushroomco.com. It should all be self-explanatory on there. We have all of our history. You can learn about the farm, what we do to grow our products, and the different products that we offer and sell.
Really cool. Last question for you.
Yes.
You can tell me to go pound sand on this one. Is anybody in the Wong family going to run for council or anything else politically in this area in the next decade?
Not that I know of, but if there was a Wong to do it, it'd probably be me, since I'm the youngest one out there right now. And right now, I have no desire. Yeah.
You got a lot of other stuff on your plate, man.
Yeah.
All this other, you got a lot of stuff going on. So, but hey, I just want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the show today.
Yeah,
it means a lot.
We're glad to be here and definitely educate people on agriculture.
Yeah. And and tell your folks about local Marana, and we have the MOV experience, the Marana Oro Valley experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to highlight what's going on in the area in both areas and do our best to help you guys and help everybody else out here. A lot of people they ask, they're like, "Hey, are you guys working with the town?" We're not. Sadly.
Yeah.
Right? We've tried, but it's maybe one day down the road, but we're doing this out of the kindness of our heart.
Okay.
We put time and effort to make sure. That's how much we love this place.
Yeah.
We love having our business here. We love seeing all the stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Marana Chamber. Love, going to the Impact Marana. We love so much going on here, and we want it to be like the place where people look for, hey, how do we get better at things?
Yeah.
Because you look at other stuff going on around us, and you're like, yeah, Marana's pretty awesome. So we're just gonna, So share it with your folks. Let them know that it's a cool place. We share posts, we share things going on, and if you guys ever need help with sharing an event or something you guys are doing with any of these products or anything, just let us know. We got you.
All right, sounds good. Thank
Brian,
you very
take care. Everybody, have a good one. Hope you enjoyed listening to this. I learned a lot. Hopefully you learned a lot. I learn a lot every day, though. I'm not that smart sometimes, but so no, it's I'm pretty smart. I'm just kidding. But we had a great time today, and we look forward to doing these. We got a couple more awesome episodes coming up. One thing to note: we are switching the show to Mondays at 9 a.m. starting at the beginning of May. So May 5th was going to be the next episode. So make sure you tune into that one. It's going to be on Monday. We're going to have Gabe Ceniceros from Blacktop Grill and Jason Quirk from Jack Furrier's. Don't miss it. Again, we're moving to Mondays at 9 a.m. On Wednesdays, Bruce Ash with his national show Inside Track is going to be following up Christopher DeSimone's Wake Up Live. So a couple changes. We're having fun. We're doing this new thing.